Get started, but prior to our beginning, we're going to have a special word from our own council member, Bill Gray. Bill, do you want to stand up? Or?
Let's stand up.
All right, everybody stand up with us at this time. We'd appreciate it.
As we gather here today, we pray that we are ever mindful of opportunities to provide service to our fellow citizens and to our community, always in keeping in mind the enduring values of life and the things which future generations can build. Let us continue to strive to make a better city, state, county, country, and world. We're thankful for this day that you have given us, for its blessings, its opportunities, and its challenges. We pray for strength and guidance for each day as it comes, for each day's tasks, for each day's problems. May we be challenged to give our best always, and may we be assured of your presence with us. Amen.
Let's call the meeting to order, and I'll ask the clerk to please take roll.
County,
Here.
Coleman,
Here.
Boson. Here. Gray,
Here.
Westergaard. Here. Mandelbaum,
Here.
Gatto.
Here.
We have a quorum.
All right, our first item on the agenda tonight is approving a recommendation by myself for appointment for Mayor Pro Tem for the calendar year of 2019. I want to thank Councilmember Coleman for his service as Mayor Pro Tem, and he did an excellent job. This year, my recommendation for appointment to Mayor Pro Tem is our senior ward council person, Mr. Bill Gray, Ward 1. So,
Thank you.
and
Want me to move it?
do we need to have a move on that one?
As my final action as the reigning Mayor Pro Tem, I wholeheartedly move the mayor's recommendation. Bill, you're a good leader for our town.
Thank you.
If everybody would
I
vote.
assume I can vote on this, Jeff.
Yes, you can.
Thank you.
Can't recuse yourself.
Well, unless you don't have confidence in the nomination.
7 yes.
Okay, our second item is approving the agenda as presented and/or as amended. And I will quickly say that item 4A, Councilmember Coleman votes no. 4L, Councilmember Coleman votes no. 4M, Councilmember Coleman votes no. Item 8, Councilmember Coleman wishes to speak. Item 15, Councilmember Gray wishes to speak. And item 27, Councilmember Gray votes no. Not that, where's my,
Don't have any changes.
okay, in addition to that, there are no changes this evening.
I'll move item 2.
All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Item passes. The other next item is approving the consent agenda. Those tonight are items 3 through 41. These are routine items that are generally enacted by one roll call vote without separate discussion unless someone, a council or public, requests items be removed for additional consideration or clarification. The items that I noted before have been asked to be spoken, item 8 and item 15. Are there any others that anybody has this evening? These are items, again, 3 through 41. Asking if anybody has any items in that group that they'd like to have pulled for further consideration.
I see none, Mr. Mayor. We'll move item 3.
Okey-doke. I'm going to ask everybody voting in progress. Any comments? Hearing none.
7 yes.
All right. That takes us to item 8. Item 8 is a public improvement approving the professional services agreement with Kirkham Michael and Associates, Inc. for the Ingersoll Avenue Streetscape Phase 1, Martin Luther King Parkway to 31st Street, not to exceed $525,000. Council Communication number 19-015. Mr. Coleman.
Thank you. I've been lucky to vote on the Ingersoll streetscape improvements, and I think it's done an amazing job over there. Tonight, we're really talking about the architectural work. I'm not quite sure there's a whole lot I can do about it, but Scott and Jeff in particular, I would just like to see us find a way to streamline this. It's my understanding as I look at the designs, which the blue letter rightfully points out that we've done most of the design work, we've done the conceptual stuff, there's pictures of it in there, but even with all that, and the fact that we've done something identical on many blocks already in the corridor, we're spending another $525,000 to design the next section. And I have voiced this not just about Ingersoll, but many other places. I just think it's in the best interest of our taxpayers to streamline the conceptual designs that we might spend for streetscape. There might be little tweaks we can do to make it unique around the community, but, this is we're going to have millions of dollars on the Ingersoll streetscape in just architectural fees. And it seems to me that it's just not that complicated, especially when we're replicating what we've done for blocks the rest of the way. So that's my primary frustration and concern. It just seems repetitive and a bad use of money, and I wish we would have written the specs to kind of build off of what was done already. The blue letter includes the design stuff. I'm not really quite sure what it is that we're getting for the next $500,000.
Mr. Manager, would you want to touch on that?
Yeah, I can answer to some of that and pull up staff as well as they come up. There are some elements of the design that are different, with bump outs in particular, which you don't often see in some other portions. But a lot of times that design has to be specific to the site with the other utilities, the right-of-way constraints that are specific to the segments that we're looking at. Now, that doesn't account, obviously, for the full amount, but you can't just simply say, I want the same thing as what's on this block or that block, and not still have to design it out for what the actual construction specs would require to build. I don't know if that's a good segue to...
Yep.
That's Steve.
Thank you. Honorable Mayor, members of the City Council, Steve Neighbor, City Engineer. Basically, the drawing that I included in the council communication is a concept, not to grade it, but it's basically a pretty drawing. It's just a surface drawing. What this engineering services contract includes is actually that detailed design in the sake of actually putting elevations to those curbs, actual dimensions, designing the stormwater drainage so that you can actually, when you add these bump outs and change the curb lines, you can make them drain. It's designing the actual reconstruction of the roadway, photometrics for lighting. It's the actual detailed design. So all that's been done to date, to be honest, is a conceptual design of what the geometrics could look like. So, and then they also put together the contract specifications, bid items. They calculate all the quantities that the contractors use to develop their bids, and so none of that work has been done. This actually is for just for phase 1 too, as the council communication states. So,
Is this not about the 10 to 12% or even potentially less of the total project cost?
it would be, so if we're looking at, sorry, I'm looking at my notes. Yeah, yeah. The total project cost is 16 million, and we're probably looking at about two and a quarter, if I remember the total for fees, so, yeah. Yeah.
So are we going to be able to take this and use it in other sections? Or are we going to, every time we do a streetscape project, we're working out this kind?
We can take concepts and apply it elsewhere, but in terms of like actual elevations and how drainage works, it never, you cannot take it anywhere else. You would need to detail out, the grades are different, the utilities are different in each location. So, but in terms of like a concept or a principle, you could take that elsewhere, but a specific design you typically never use elsewhere.
And I think one of the other things that has happened is we've looked at different sections of town. There are certain infrastructure pieces that are underground that are going to be affected, as you mentioned, the water and the intakes.
Yep.
And what are, part of which it was put in place over 150 years ago. And so we've got to, deal with that, and you got to have some pretty expert opinions, I think, in a lot of those cases, especially coming down Ingersoll and that area that has some older infrastructure that really needs to be addressed.
And the other thing with streetscapes, again, it comes back, a lot of it's to elevations. When we're working with the Americans with Disabilities Act design guidelines, your sidewalks there's requirements on those sidewalk slopes, and that not only at the intersection ramps and corners themselves, at driveways, and even the cross slope itself, when you're changing that curb line, those can be quite cumbersome. I used to be the streetscape guy at my previous firm and have rebuilt all of downtown DeKalb, Zion, Glenview, a number of communities, and that was always a very challenging element. It was detailing out what those elevations could be. So.
Any other questions? Those are good points.
I got a second question. I felt, this is about funding. I felt like the statement there, I just want to make sure I'm not reading too much into it. It said that with the current increment, it was fully funded. Scott, I'm kind of looking to you. Can you confirm that, and just, when is that development that's already happened, or does that include anticipated development?
Yeah, so I can clarify that the existing growth along Ingersoll in valuation is sufficient to pay debt service on the full project. And so there's excess capacity within the TIF from a valuation standpoint. It would still take borrowing to get it done,
But it could be,
but it can be done through the TIF growth that's already occurred to this point,
And that's each of the phases.
in total, in totality. So the district as a whole. I haven't done the analysis of block by block what growth has occurred.
Yeah, but
But the 4 phases, I think is what.
Yes.
Is that what you're asking?
Yes.
So
That is
you're
correct.
saying the increment is there with the growth that's already occurred?
Correct. To borrow against for the whole project. Understanding that the motivation to do this project is there are still a lot of parcels along Ingersoll that have the opportunity to expand further, so there's that opportunity
so more
to
development.
recoup
Okay.
the cost even further yet with future growth. And that's a key point that differs from some other TIF opportunities and streetscapes.
Right, other questions? Other,
you want to move it, or? Sure.
I'm happy to move item 8. Appreciate the discussion.
Seven yes.
all right, takes us to item 15, land property transactions. A, authorization to proceed with acquisition of the necessary property interests for the Merle Hay Road and Hickman intersection improvements project, council communication number 19-010. Councilman Gray.
Thank you, Mayor. This is going to go back to ancient history, but 5 years ago, when I first got on the city council, the first thing that I brought forward to Rick Clark, the city manager, was I want to take a look at redoing the corner of Merle Hay and Hickman. 5 years later, what have we got? This is really, if you look at what the intent of this is, it says right here, the goals of these improvements are to increase the traffic capacity and improve the safety of the intersection at Merle Hay Road and Hickman. Let me tell you what we have there. We have probably the worst intersection in the entire city of Des Moines. A 5-way intersection. This doesn't make any sense. And this is the western gateway for people coming in to visit Des Moines. I won't go into signage because Windsor Heights has a nice monument sign identifying their territory. Urbandale has a nice sign identifying their territory. And if it weren't for the Merle Hay neighborhood posting a sign, you wouldn't even know you're in Des Moines. But that's another issue that we can go at. But this, if you look at this intersection, there's only one corner that has turning lanes. People are piled up there. We have a letter from Jason Pulliam, the Merle Hay Neighborhood Association president. One of his big concerns in the whole neighborhood association is the fact that westbound traffic on Hickman has no left-hand turn lane at all. And again, it comes back to this eminent domain and what we need to do. We're already going after 3 separate property owners for improvements, but keep in mind, now we have some new businesses in here that are going to warrant more traffic. Hy-Vee's going to be opening up one of their fresh and fast stores on the northwest corner there in this spring. CVS has just invested a lot of money on the northeast corner there, and we have a new housing development up the street on Merle Hay and Franklin. I keep looking at this, and this can has been kicked down the road way too long. We missed, when CVS was building it, we could have taken part of that property and put a turn lane in. We chose not to. Hy-Vee's going to be doing some stuff, but we're going to put in two left-hand turning lanes, not take into account that crazy corner where people can just drive and make a complete turn without having to stop. This intersection is atrociously designed. It's not conducive to the betterment of the neighborhood nor the city of Des Moines. Also, it's a state highway. Highway 28 roars up through there. I did talk to engineering at one time about why was this crazy design set up. And somewhere in the 50s, the concept came, well, we're going to make Merle Hay Road a 6-lane superhighway, and then we're going to bend all the traffic down Merklin Way, which is a one-way, to head towards a future freeway. Well, none of that stuff's ever happened. And Merklin Way, those poor people that live there have to, if they're coming home from downtown, they have to drive down probably 55th, get down to Hickman Road, and backtrack to get on Merklin Way so they can get to their home. This whole corner has been a hodgepodge of patches. I would like to see, with the backing of the Merle Hay Neighborhood Association, I want to see where we can move forward and make this a corner that the city can be proud of, is functionally good, and meets the needs of the neighborhood as well as the city. So I will move 15, but add to the stipulation that I want this referred back to the city manager and engineering. We need a target. Well, I was just told it costs too much money. Tell me what it is. We have got to have a target to go, and we got to work with the neighborhood association. I want this corner fixed before I leave this earth. So, thanks, God. But that's yeah, I do too. But that's my motion. Is move 15 with the stipulation that we refer to the city manager and engineering. Let's get a design done. Let's make something that's functional, that's going to work for our city, and let's get a price tag on it that we can shoot for. That's my motion.
I'd love to see that master plan, even if we have to walk away from the price tag, because I think it can be affordable. I think the 5-way intersection has to stop. You and I have talked about that since the day you got elected.
That's exactly right.
We just
5
need
years.
to fix it. So, that's a persuasive mayor pro tem over there.
Coming out of the blocks fighting.
Seven yes.
Okay, that completes the consent agenda. And next is communications and reports. This one from item 42 from Joe Grandinet of 6215 Gordon Avenue to speak regarding streets, sewers, bike paths, and the 1-cent sales tax. Joe?
Mayor and city council people, I'm back.
Welcome back.
Many things have happened since I was here last and talked about the bike paths. After I had left the last time, you voted for about over $200,000 for a bike path on the south side. And just recently, you voted 6-1 for the amount of $552,476. and $77,000, it was over budget. You're building bike paths at the expense of the homeowners that have lost their homes due to bad sewers and streets. If you want to be good stewards of our money, I would think that you would fix the roads and the streets and the sewers that are falling in. The bike paths is a good idea, but not at the expense of the homeowners who need antiquated, outdated, outmoded sewers. And how you could vote for that, I don't understand why. And that's one of the reasons why I'm back here. Grand Avenue, Ingersoll, University, every major thoroughfare in this town needs to be repaved. Do you have a plan for resurfacing them? In addition to the resurfacing them, the sewers are outdated. And yes, you're addressing some this spring, but now you have less money to do more because you're spending it on bike paths. 45 years ago, Bill Riley started bike paths down at Ashworth Swimming Pool. He wanted to get the bike people off the streets so they would be safe. And now we're wanting more bicycles on streets, and they don't pay their way. Now in Oregon, just this last year, you come up and complain about things, you got to have a solution. Why don't the bike people pay the way? They should have something in it for them. Any bike over $200 in Oregon, they got to pay $15. And they're going to raise $1.2 million. Well, if Oregon can do that, why can't Des Moines, Iowa? I remember when I was a little kid, we used to go up to the fire station. I don't know how much it was. You used to get your little sticker and you put it on your bike. I don't know if it was free or not, but everybody was accounted for. So, bike paths are a good idea, but not when you have other things that are really needed for these poor homeowners that have had their houses ruined because of this, and the people that go back and forth to work every day, because we pay higher property taxes in the city of Des Moines than all the rest of the suburbs, so our roads should be more pristine than the suburbs, since we're getting more money from the homeowners, but our roads are less. Now, as I understand it, you're fixing Fleur Drive. Did you concede to 11 feet or 12 feet? I left. I don't know if the lanes are going to be 11 feet or 12 feet, but Fleur Drive is going to be fixed, and it is bad, I will tell you. And now you're going to fix it. And also, I talked about the bike situation at East Village. I talked to several of the people up there. I do know a lot of the owners up there. They appreciate the fact that I went there and talked, but there's also a problem now with, they put in a steel post with a little sign going one way. It's not very forgiving if you have a truck and if you have businesses coming in there with big semis, beer trucks, pop trucks, anything that they have service. There's not enough room for the truck driver to get through or get by because they have to stick out, because now they have a sign there that you can't move over. And also all the pylons that you have on the east side, they're all pushed down and pushed over. I thought we had a person that manages the bike thing now. Isn't that his job, to make sure that it looks good? Because I think it looks pretty bad. So, is that my time? Okay. I didn't get to talk about other things, but I will be back. Thank you for your time. I hope you take in considerations when you make decisions on behalf of the people that you represent, that you're good stewards of our money. That's what city council people do. Thank you.
Thank you, Joe.
All right, thank you, Joe. It's 4:58. Let's hear from Alex Hoops of 2330 University Avenue to speak regarding predatory towing.
Are you able to see the slides?
Motion to
Yes.
receive and file.
Yeah.
Mr. Granonet's.
Yeah.
I'll make a
Let's
motion.
make a quick motion to receive and file Mr. Granonet's comments.
I'm going to move.
I'll make that motion to receive and file Mr. Granonet's.
All right.
Do you have your own slides?
They have slides on here.
Oh, they have it on.
Can we do,
Yeah, she'll go to, yeah.
all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Copies
Opposed?
as well, if you need to see.
Item passes, thank you.
Pass these around.
That's what they're for.
Okay.
All right. We have some more stuff to receive and file?
Yeah, I'll move to receive and file his documents. He has it on the PowerPoint, too.
Okey-doke. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Item passes. All right, Alex, you're up.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, members of the City Council, for the opportunity to speak here today. I'm going to work in good faith to get through all this in my 5 minutes. So I'm here today to talk about the issue of predatory towing. And I want to start by just orienting you to the current ordinances that deal with the removal of vehicles from private property. In a nutshell, the ordinances today say that any vehicle that is parked on private property without the permission of the owner is illegally parked, and there are two ways that a private property owner can handle that situation. One is to, all of them flow through contacting the police department, in which case they can offer a citation, or they can have the vehicle removed and impounded. But again, this all is done through the police department, the Department of Public Works, or the Department of Community Development. So those are the current ordinances in the municipal code in Des Moines that cover the removal of vehicles from private property. So what do I mean when I talk about predatory towing? There's a lot of different aspects to predatory towing. I'm going to really focus on just two of those aspects. So when I say predatory towing, I'm talking about a private, non-consensual tow that has either of the following aspects, either entrapment, which is concealing the intent to tow, or price gouging, which is charging significantly above market rates for towing services. So I say private in that these would be tows that are not pursuant to a citation, that are not ordered by either the police department or the Department of Public Works, and they're fairly common. Obviously, I have a personal story. That's what brings me here today. So in December of last year, I had parked in a commercially zoned parking lot across the street from a restaurant that I was going to. This parking lot is near Drake University. And as I pulled in, I made sure to check the walls, check the curb cuts, look for signage that would indicate that this was a parking lot that I could not park in. And went to the establishment. I was there for about 2 hours. When I came out, my car was gone. There was a tow truck there that was removing another vehicle at the time. So I went up to the tow truck driver and I said, "Oh, I imagine my car got towed." When I pulled in, I looked for a sign. Where's the sign? I don't see any sign that would say this is not a place that I can park. And he gestured to the corner there. So just to orient you to the photos on the screen, what you're looking at is the wall adjacent to the parking lot. And the big photo on the right, you can see there's kind of two parts to the wall, large and short. Bottom left, we start to zoom in a little bit more, and you can still see those two parts of the wall. And in the top left, you can see the sign that the tow truck driver had referenced that says, towed vehicles can be redeemed at such and such location. So on that entire wall, the sign that they chose to post was that one in the very far bottom right-hand corner of that fairly large wall. So I went to the lot the next morning. I had a friend drive me home that night. My wife brought me there the next day, and I challenged the owner and I said, you know, I'm not sure that this was a very upstanding way to conduct business. He basically gave me two choices. He said, you can either pay to get your car back today and take me to court if you feel like you've been wrong to get your money back, or you can leave. And if you don't want to do either of those things, I will call the cops on you for trespassing. While I was standing there, I had the opportunity to see 3 other people that were in front of me in line deal with this same owner, and it seemed like they were in situations that were fairly similar to the one that I was in. Towing under maybe suspect conditions. But what was different about their interactions was, I was talking about ordinances and statutes and due process, and the people in front of me were talking about how they had to call in to miss their shift that day because they didn't have their car, or how they did not have the money to get their car out that day. So, I'm fortunate I have a salaried position. It was fairly easy for me to just say, hey, boss, I'm going to be in a couple hours late while I get my car. The fee I had to pay was, more of a nuisance than a financial hardship. Clearly not the case for everybody that was there that day. So I could very easily take them to small claims courts, try to get my money back. That would solve my problem, but this is something that happens dozens of times every day. And that would go unchanged if all I did was take them to small claims courts. I just want to jump to this part, proposed ordinances. So what I think we could do to address this, there's really 3 things. Require posted signage in lots that's clearly visible, limit the fees that can be charged, and impose penalties on towing companies who violate those rules. This is the last slide that I'll touch on. I looked at what other cities in the Midwest do to address this situation, and it turns out that many of them have rules on the books either through statute or ordinance that address these 3 issues. So there's a lot of precedents to look to, and they seem to have found ways to effectively deal with this matter. So thank you for your time today.
All right, Alex, thank you. All right, it is 5:05.
Before, I guess.
We need to receive and file, and if you have a comment, go ahead.
Yeah, well, I would, I appreciate the comments that have been made and the suggestions. I would certainly appreciate from the city attorney maybe seeing how this compares to our ordinance and the suggestions made, and if there is any recommendation for best practices that we as a city could implement for situations like this, and I'd welcome your recommendations. So I'd make a motion for...
Just to be clear, and I would support Josh's motion, but just to be clear, there is a picture that you had posted on there, and I have the same exact picture. You didn't zoom in on the
The
little
no
box.
trespassing?
The one that says posted, no trespassing.
Yeah.
The holes in the building where people have ran into the building, and that's why they don't want you parking in that. Some of those photos, I think you left out. There's pictures of where cars have hit the building. I think the owners of that building are, a picture of that right there where a car has banged into the building.
Yeah.
And that's part of the reason why they don't want trespassing and cars parked on that lot, and your car was towed that night.
Yeah, I believe that, but I think that if you look at businesses around, if you drive around the East Village, you can see plenty of examples of businesses that clearly do not want people to park there.
Oh, I completely
That go
understand.
to better lengths than that to make that known. So, and I said that to them too. If they really didn't want people to park there, they would take a better approach than the one that they took.
And I would think that they have probably taken a much better approach if you've gone out there now. And my understanding that they went out there 30 minutes after you left their yard, and all of these signs were posted on that building at that time. So I'm not sure what the deal is, but I support whatever motion, but there is 2 sides. And I know that the towing company has a very difficult job because he has difficulties there. Me as a small business owner, and I've spoke with Josh, how people just dump cars into my business's property, stolen cars that don't run anymore, they'll just leave them.
Yeah.
And and I don't have any signs posted. But I would be stuck with that car in there if we didn't tow that car.
Yeah, and I want to state that I have a appreciation for the rights of private property owners, and I think that's the balance that we need to strike here. Because
I agree with you.
I think if someone sees a sign and they say, to heck with it, I'm going to park there, in some respect, you've consented to have your car towed.
Yeah, well,
But those are not the situations that I'm talking about.
no. And
All right, so we have a motion
here.
here to receive and file, and
just get recommendations if there are any best practices that are not currently in our ordinance. With Councilman Gatto's points being well taken, I mean, private property owners have a right to remove vehicles. If there's anything that we should be thinking about relating to notice, or if there's, the fee portion as well. Those things seem reasonable to address.
I've heard enough issues right over here on some other issues that I think it would be worthwhile to look into.
Yeah.
So we're going to receive and file and refer to appropriate departments for recommendations on how to work through this issue. Okay?
7 yes.
All right, it is now 5:09. We're going to skip quickly to our hearings, because we're past our 5 o'clock opening time. First item is 48, which are items regarding Gray's Landing and Gray's Station urban renewal projects located south of Martin Luther King Jr. Parkway and west of Southwest 9th Street. A is closing the public hearing on the issuance of not to exceed $8,500,000 urban renewal revenue refunding Section 108 government guaranteed participation certificates and one or more notes issued as part of said series of the City of Des Moines, State of Iowa. Council Communication number 19-024. One under that is instituting and proceeding to take additional action. Mr. Attorney, should we read all three of these into this and see if there's any comment on any of them all at once, or take them separately?
You can read them all together.
All right. B is closing the three-party agreement with the River Point West LLC and HRC NFS1 Limited Liability Corporation, which provides for the sale of city-owned land to River Point West LLC and approving same. Council Communication number 19-021. C is conditionally approving the third amended and restated urban renewal development agreement with River Point West LLC for the Gray's Landing project. Council Communication number 19-022. Let's go ahead and open the hearing and see if there's anybody in the audience who would like to speak to this item. Seeing none, let's go ahead and see if there's any council discussion on items 48A, B, and C.
I'm happy to move items 48A, B, and C. Appreciate all the work that staff has put into this. I know it's been complicated. There have been lots of parties, but this will hopefully pay dividends down the line. And I'm excited to see things moving forward in this area.
And your motion includes 48A1.
Includes 48A1. Thank you for the clarification.
Seven yes.
All right, 49, on the Urban Renewal Development Agreement with Market District 1 LLC to purchase and develop city-owned property at 401 Southeast 6th and 400 Southeast 7th Street in the Metro Center Urban Renewal Area, and approving the conceptual development plan. Council Communication number 19-005. Let's open the hearing on this item and see if there's anybody in the audience who would like to speak to this item. Anyone? Seeing none. Council?
I will move item 49. Hopefully, we can dig a hole and build something, Mr. Levy, at this point, and we won't have this in front of us again.
Mr. Conley's out there, too.
Is he?
I can't think of a,
Oh, he's right there.
I can't think of a more persistent development.
Very persistent.
They have not given up, which is great.
This might have been 4 years that I, maybe, yeah, since the first time I talked to you about it. I didn't see Matt. So, yeah, I'll move item 49.
7 yes.
Item 50, on approval of documents for conveyance of excess city-owned property located at Southeast 25th Street, south of Shaw Street, to Jose Gonzalez for $10,955. Open the hearing. Is there anyone here to speak to this item regarding property located on Southeast 25th Street?
I see none, Mr. Mayor. I'll move item 50.
All right, item 50 has been moved.
7 yes.
Item 51, on the conveyance of city-owned property at 1124 13th Street and 1311 Laurel Street to Indigo Dawn LLC for redevelopment of housing. Council communication number 19-003. Anybody here to speak on this item? You want to speak?
Don't need to, unless you have questions.
Okay. Anybody have any thoughts or questions?
It's great that's being done.
He's doing
Yeah.
great work.
Seeing none, happy to move item 51.
Good choice, sir.
7 yes.
Item 52, items regarding properties at 1900, 1904, 1912, and 1914 Southwest 1st Street. CS Family Properties LLC. A is to amend the existing Plan DSM, creating our tomorrow plan future land use designation from medium density residential to community mixed use to allow for rezoning to limited DR, downtown riverfront, and the redevelopment for senior living apartments at a density of up to 40 units per acre. B is a hearing on the rezoning of the property from R3, multiple family residential, to limited DR, downtown riverfront. C is the first consideration of the ordinance above. D is the final consideration of the ordinance above. The waiver is requested by the applicant and requires 6 votes. Let's open the hearing on this item.
And I think before hearing gets closed, if no one comes up to speak, I think we have some questions where it might be useful to have staff come up.
Yeah, we may not even want to close this hearing.
Yep.
Okay. All right, anybody here to speak to this item? See people leaving, nobody to speak to it. Okay, let's turn back to the council and let's discuss this project. Anybody have any comments?
I think there's just been some questions related to the infrastructure, and I wouldn't mind if there's someone from staff that could help give a full picture of the infrastructure, if we could maybe even put the photos up to understand, because my understanding is that there's going to be, the full urban cross-section required in some areas, but maybe not others, and I just want to understand where the proposed units are, what's happening in the length of the property, and where there might not.
Chris is throwing things.
Where there might not be.
Don't be throwing things.
I know.
Chris.
Slide it over a little bit. Might just pull that out a little bit, Diane.
Yeah, there you go.
So the question about the cross-section of that,
Yep.
looking is on Southwest First, right here. This is St. Anthony's right here. So right there, and then on Edison here. That's what we're referring to in I know the questions we answered for council today.
Yeah, so that whole length of Southwest First and that whole length of Edison, we require the full cross-section, which includes sidewalks, gutter, curb, and then the Columbus Avenue piece and the Southwest Second, we are not requiring that, is that correct?
My understanding for this, it's only on Southwest First and then just Edison.
So that will be the requirement of the developer to put curb, sidewalk, gutter
Yep.
on both of those streets, full from Southwest Second to, for Edison, from Southwest Second to Southwest First.
Yep,
How about Columbus?
not four sides.
Nothing on Columbus, nothing on Southwest Second.
Yep.
Okay. Is Southwest Second used, is that I know there's a parcel that's closed further to the north of Southwest Second that another developer owns and has a sign up and doesn't allow through traffic, is that correct? Is that Southwest Second?
I'm not sure about that, Joe.
Is Matt here?
Southwest Second is,
Is that the one we talked about today, Matt, that was up there, the Hanson, where they turn in front of where that Reese is? The construction, the semi place? I know. I'm pretty sure it is.
I think it is.
So it's
Where-
not
where
really,
the old
it's
Bob-
not really a through street, Southwest Second is what I'm.
Yes, no, I'm
It
pretty sure I
goes,
drove.
it goes up, and then you can go over where Madison Flat is to get to Indianola Avenue. But you can't go any further than Madison Flats. And I believe we had Madison Flats put that street in, and turn lane, and that median, I believe they had to put that in, is that right? I don't know, somebody been around long enough to probably tell me, because I wasn't on the council at that time. Let me,
Is this map?
so here's St. Anthony's.
you got, maybe Laura has it up here.
Is that?
That doesn't go out far enough, though.
Yeah, that doesn't go out far enough. The Madison Flats is at the top of that page. I don't know. Can you zoom into that, Chris? See the cross streets? Okay. And Corey, you might want to come up and so you can address some of these issues, because I know the neighborhood had some of these issues that we talked about a little bit at the neighborhood meeting.
Yeah, that's what I was just telling him. Hi, Mr. Mayor and City Council. I'm Corey, by the way. The street that is in front of Ironworks, is that what we're talking about?
Southwest Second, yeah.
Yeah, that actually connects to Indianola.
Yeah, it comes out right where that Madison Flat is, and you have to
Or not
go.
Indianola, right when you come
right
over
a
the
little bit.
bridge,
Yeah.
it will run into.
No, that street's closed.
Oh, did they
That
close
is
it?
not, that is actually not a through street, and there's
Oh.
a sign up that says that is not a through street.
Oh, okay.
Because a developer had purchased that whole area. So that, it does not go all the way to the bridge.
Do they just do that?
Maybe about 4 or 5 months ago. Because I've received numerous complaints about that, even though it's Josh's ward.
I did not know that.
Okay.
Yeah.
I've received complaints
Yeah,
about it.
thanks, John.
Because there's an alternative path.
There is an alternative path
That's why that-
to it,
Turn there at.
to where Madison Flats is in front of it.
You got a HDMI in there?
Yeah.
Oh, wait, you can go right there.
No.
Oh. Just side down.
Just a second.
It's going back to the,
Laura, go to, Laura, can you?
document camera?
Yeah, go to the camera, please.
Here we go.
We'll do it real fast. So Joe, this is Matt Anderson, Deputy City Manager. Councilman Gatto, this is what we were looking at this morning. So right here is where.
Yep, that's
we're
closed
asking
now.
about. That's closed now, where you could come get to this property directly from Indianola, as this gentleman has stated, but this is closed now.
Barricades aren't up, but there is a sign put up. At any point in time, barricades could be put up. So you have to come in off of Dunham and then down Second to get to the Ironworks place, or to your facility, if you came in off of Indianola Avenue. So Southwest Second, I believe that's, yeah, I mean, you can come in off of Southwest First, but I mean,
Or Edison. Doesn't Edison take you right to there? Isn't that Edison right there?
That's Dunham.
Oh, is it?
Dunham and Edison.
Edison.
Yeah, so you could
would.
take either one.
Edison would.
Yeah.
So some of the concerns that the neighbors have had was walkability to the bike path and also curb and gutter around that and who was going to pay for it and what the cost, who's responsible for it. And I guess we just all need to be clear before we go forward what we're doing here. And you're going to need to know, and so, and we're all going to need to be on the same page. And I'm not sure how we do it with other developments. I know some of them have done some of them haven't did all of them, some of them, because I know there's certain portions that we've allowed them not to do it, and then I've gotten complaints that, why is there a big puddle on this street? You got a brand-new building, and we didn't do the new street or sewer on there.
We were basing it off of that Madison Flats and kind of what the pre-app meeting was saying. They were saying whatever our main entrance may be, say it's Edison.
Sure.
That we would have to provide the curb and all that.
Okay.
To the main entrance. And then hoping this, the city would probably, or somebody down the road would take care of Columbus and, what's that other one? First?
Second.
Third?
Second,
Yeah,
Southwest
second,
Second.
on the
And we just
backside.
need to be clear, because right now, it's not in our 5-year CIP to put curb, gutter, street improvements to either one of those streets. So, we just need to be clear what we're doing here, and I just want to look ahead and try to be somewhat proactive instead of reactive to this, because I know when this goes in, they're going to look at you and I and Josh and say, who's going to fix that street?
Yep.
Really, they're going to look at Josh and then they're going to look at me.
Well, they might look at you and then you'll send them to me.
Yeah, so does it include, because we have a map on in our council book that only shows that you're only using half of the parcel. You're using the full block, aren't you?
Correct.
Right, because you have parking and you have a community garden, a retention ditch.
But that-
So will you do landscaping along the Southwest Second
Right.
and finish that off?
I guess I'm open for whatever the city and
Yeah, I was just, at least if you have landscaping.
requirements would be.
So would you be open to doing the full street section on all four sides?
At this point, probably not, just because we have to see what it's going to cost to build the project anyway. I think we're already thinking around 7 million? Yeah, 7 million to do it already.
It says
so-
9.
Is it 9?
Is it 9? Yeah. So either way, at this point, we would just like to improve the main entrance off of Edison.
I guess I would like
Well,
to.
yeah.
Go ahead, Mr. Mayor.
I think it sounds like a great project on the one hand. On the other hand, I'm somewhat concerned about, how we deal with water issues, knowing that area can tend to be a little damp down there. And so how do we deal with that? Are you going to use permeable pavement? Are we having trees? Bioswales, gardens? What are we doing about those issues?
Mr. Mayor, my name's Pierce Cody. I work with Simonson and Associates Architects, and we're here with Corey today as the developer. Water retention, of course, by city standard is required on all new developments. So we will have on-site detention for our own water that we're generating on this site. While this is an early concept, of course, we're landscaping, keeping as much of the site in turf as opposed to concrete. And where we define that we can accommodate everything with surface detention in the lower corner of the site, we would, of course, have to entertain underground detention as well, but we would meet city standards in that regard. Relative to the street improvements, based on our pre-app meeting with city staff and P&Z, they've requested that we do full section across Southwest First and Edison. And I believe, frankly, that it wasn't even the full extent of Edison. It was primarily the two portions of the street where our main entry into the site, so that increased traffic generated to the site is actually going on top of improved pavement as opposed to thing that might be in a little bit lesser condition, older condition. They did not have a requirement for us to do curb and gutter, and certainly not full section on all four sides of the property. There might be a compromise position where we would think about curb and gutter on the other two sides, but frankly, I'm not sure that buys us much improvement, because whatever eventually replaces those two streets would have to match up with what we do, and at the time, without any design work, who knows how well that would tie into what the future plan is. So from our perspective, I think we're being pretty generous in the sense that we're paving two full public streets, sidewalks, curb and gutter on the sides that we are. But of course, you may disagree with that. I understand that this neighborhood needs more. The question is whether this development should do it all.
So are you not, because it kind of shows on this piece of paper that you're putting sidewalks all the way around your property?
Yes, we are putting sidewalks on all
Okay,
sides of the
okay.
property.
So-
We're more concerned about, of course, the full width of the street, curb and gutter on both sides. That's a much larger expense.
Southwest Second's really a road that, it's halfway closed. I mean, it
So
shouldn't
there isn't
even
much
normal.
traffic, it doesn't look like.
It shouldn't, the only traffic you're gonna get is when the kids are getting dropped off to school and these people can't pull out and go down Edison, they're gonna go to where Madison Flat is and go away from that. Columbus, there's nothing other than ironworks behind it. I mean, there's no accessibility to anything other than Southwest Second. So I'm sure that's what P and Z was looking at when they
Right.
looked at it. There's no, I mean, there's a daycare there, but really, I think this is the parking for ironworks, isn't it? That gravel
I
drive?
believe so.
So there's absolutely nothing there. So, I mean, if the improvements to Southwest First are completed, and
And you've got sidewalks all the way around.
yep, and Edison is completed up to your access point.
And probably goes beyond it to some degree.
Right.
Yeah. I'll be honest, I'm a little fuzzy about how much we've committed to in P and Z there, but I do know that we're replacing at least a portion of that street.
One of my questions is, you look at this area and knowing what's kind of to the west of it, up to the river and down, I mean, that at some moment or another, especially with a nice development here, that may open up to something besides ironworks.
Certainly.
And whatever, and so what access are we going to use moving down the road to get access to that property that could also have some future value as well? And, you know, if we just toss it out and say, well, there's nothing there now, and, you know, it's not going to happen.
No,
I
agreed.
think we have to have a better
But at the same
vision.
time, if whatever replaces ironworks uses Columbus as their main entry, which I think they probably would, it seems like that improvement comes along with that project, much like we're improving our project.
I just think we have to make the pathways to make that a possibility, and at least see that as a potential at this time, would lay the groundwork for something in the future to happen. Not that we have to pave all that stuff, but just make sure we recognize that, you know, that's probably what's going to happen. I mean, we're talking about, Joe, you and I talked about recently, you know, a scrapyard not far from here that needs to be removed, that there's some developers that are looking at real hard and fast, that, you know, for, I want to say centuries, but decades, has
Right.
been something that we would never have imagined that there'd be this kind of interest. But looking at everything that's happened so positively in the East Village, and then seeing some really positive things happen around this
Well,
area.
and I think,
I'm
Mayor, that
encouraged.
goes to discussion we had at P and Z, which is currently this site is, well, there are two parcels. There's an alley that runs up and down on this plan between the two sites. One is already DR, downtown riverfront. The other is R3, I believe it is. And we're asking that we change the R3 to match the DR on the other side. That way we have consistent zoning, consistent setbacks, that sort of thing across the parcel. But ultimately, in the current land use plan, this entire neighborhood eventually kind of goes to be a DR kind of level of density, and as this neighborhood redevelops, that's probably what it's going to take on in terms of its character, much like the apartments along Indianola have done already. So I think this is another step in the evolution of this neighborhood somewhat.
So we're going to have storm sewers on Southwest First, correct? Water is going to go into a storm sewer and go away from this, is
I'm
that
going
correct?
to be very honest. I don't know if there's an existing storm sewer in that.
Because I see an existing storm sewer on Southwest Second.
I think there's one.
Is there one on
I think
Southwest
there's one
First?
right here, Joe, right over here.
That's the water main, sanitary sewer. But, I mean, if you're going to put curb and, I mean.
Oh, wait, no, it's actually back
the
here.
Existing put.
It has a water, sanitary, and storm sewers shall be provided in accordance with City of Des Moines standards on here. Does that mean that you're,
Oh, right there, public storm sewer, okay. Perfect, right there. So you'll be able to tap into that when we finish the
Correct.
street, and everything will be fine. Right down there on the corner where St. Anthony's is.
Well, it goes all along Columbus there as well.
Okay.
When I noticed that on the, I guess, the southwest corner of the property, there's that little note that says proposed connection to public storm sewer.
I'm sorry?
From the detention area, from the detention base.
Right.
Yes.
So where's the storm sewer?
Well, there's a storm sewer, an existing 10-inch in Columbus Avenue down the center of the
Okay.
street. And then I believe the detention area is showing it exiting to another to the,
Mr. Mayor.
Okay. So there's storm sewer on the west side of the property.
yes.
So that's there, it's just not a well-finished street. So I guess my other question, how do we, I guess we.
After we've collected the stormwater, where do we take it? There's a place to take it to.
I see it.
Unfortunately, Southwest Second, we need to figure out, I mean, if that street's going to be closed, then.
We could easily take it to Columbus Avenue. I mean,
Yeah, but you've already got a sewer there, you got to.
Right, no, I just, I mean, I'm comfortable with Southwest First. I think the neighbors would appreciate that being finished. I think they would appreciate Edison with curb and gutter being finished with the storm sewer. I think, I appreciate the mayor's comments, and I think all of us are concerned that, I'm sure Ironworks isn't probably going to be there forever,
this could be a catalyst to.
but, I mean, whoever or whenever that happens, then that might be a responsibility of them, plus, a portion of the city CIP to, strengthen some other development to the west there. I think that answers a lot of the questions that we had.
Yeah.
And the neighbors really had.
I mean, yeah.
Well, and I think to all this, it really gives a nice nod to affordable housing, so,
well,
at least for 20
we hope we're successful with IPA, so.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I think it'll be.
You're going to go ahead and build it if you don't get the IPA?
Probably not. Subsidized housing is very, very tight business, so.
Okay.
Yeah, well, I think we need the housing. I'm hopeful it's a catalyst in this area as well, because this area has a tremendous amount of potential. So I appreciate the answer to the questions, and with that, I'm willing to move item 52, A, B, C, and D.
Seven yes.
Yeah. Which I'm good with that.
Item 53, these are items regarding property at 1145 and 1147 24th Street, Mulva Hill Farms, Inc., as to amend the existing Plan DSM, creating our tomorrow plan future land use designation from low, medium density residential to neighborhood mixed use, to allow for rezoning to limited NPC, neighborhood pedestrian commercial, and expansion of the off-street parking for existing multifamily dwellings and for shared parking for nearby mixed use. B is a hearing on the rezoning, the property from R160 low-density residential to NPC, neighborhood pedestrian commercial. C is the first consideration of the ordinance above. D is the final consideration of the ordinance above, and the waiver is requested by the applicant and requires 6 votes. Let's go ahead and open the hearing and see if anybody's here to speak about this project over just south of the University on 24th Street.
We should have kept Chris up here, too.
Don't be knocking that chair over, Chris.
Oh, Joe?
I'm the owner. I'm the owner.
You want to step up and, if you would like to speak, or you want to respond to what?
I'll just speak shortly
Okay,
about it.
that'll be grand.
I'm Robert Mulvihill. I own those properties, and I requested the zoning change to get more parking for those 3 properties. The 1147 property does not have any off-street parking, and it's a 5-plex, so it needs about 7 spaces or so. The 1145 building, the parking lot is there, but it needs to be resurfaced. And then I'm starting a new business at 1139 24th Street, which is a 3rd property, and it could use more parking for the business. So we used it, by converting it to commercial, we could kind of have a shared use parking between the 3 properties. So that was kind of the reason behind it. And there's been more parking on 24th Street this past year, just due to changes in tenancy at the Drake properties. So.
And I guess the questions, and this is going to be as much for Chris, but I'm probably going to have some questions here too. You know, we've got the neighborhood pilot program going on, and I had a question about how this connects, and you know, particularly when we're doing something that will, you know, we're looking to, the property owner is looking to add value, and we're trying to bring up the quality of all of these properties. I mean, how are we thinking about that, and in particular, these properties? You know, I've been out there, and, you know, this is money that's being invested in these properties, but there's clearly some need for investment in, both from maybe even meeting code, but also improving the exterior and curb appeal of these properties as well.
Mayor, members, City Council, Chris Johansson, Community Development Director. With regards to the 2 rental properties in particular, I think that's exactly what you're getting at. For currently, under our current rental code, I know this is something we could take a look at and address more immediately than waiting for our pilot areas to complete. I know they do have rental certificates right now, but this is something we could go out and address right now. With addition to moving forward with our neighborhood revitalization program, I think one thing we're trying to do is develop more incentives for these types of properties. We've talked not only about having some sort of program to help with the repair cost for this, loans, grants. We haven't gotten all through that yet, but that's an opportunity to something to look at to address these types of issues, not only just for the rental, but also for the single family as well. But where we're at right now, I'm comfortable in saying that we drove by and looked at the properties today. This is something we could do a reinspection with and address before the end of this project happens.
Yeah, well, I guess one of the questions that I have just in general with the neighborhood plans, I mean, we're talking about incentives. Well, and I mean, zoning is one of the tools that we have, and we have, I mean, it's an incentive to property owners if they want to come in and ask us for rezoning that they invest in their property, right? I mean, there's nothing wrong with us. Legal?
Bring it up to code.
Yeah, we have to be really careful that there's zoning is statutory predominantly in Iowa, and we have an ability to agree to certain zoning conditions with the property owner. Those generally are related to, as zoning, to the use of the property, as opposed to particular conditions of the property. And those conditions generally, as your community development director is indicating, are addressed through different codes. Perhaps, I mean, one of the things that council has done in the past is to continue the hearing, continue the item generally, visit with the owner about certain commitments and what they're going to do prior to council going ahead and potentially exacerbating a situation like, for example, you might have here if the property becomes commercial and you've got plexes that could create other problems. But we have to be very careful in terms of using zoning as a hammer for property conditions as opposed to uses. It's a route that I think we can successfully navigate, or at least have in the past, but I don't think I can give you a broad statement that that's fine to tie whatever incentives to the zoning.
Yep. And the use piece, which is appropriate for zoning, and the question there is if our general goal, I mean, these are 2 units that have, I mean, there are five plexes each, right? Or are they 6?
6 is one, I think.
I mean, I thought I counted 5. So that's a use question, too, to some degree. And
What is that? Existing kitchen spaces building, what is that? Is
That's
that a
commercial
restaurant?
building next to it.
I think
I
it's
think that's already zoned.
for
It's a
catering.
restaurant?
You can
Is
go
it
in
a
and
restaurant or?
No,
Oh, okay.
shared kitchen space, isn't it?
yeah, that's, Connie's right.
Pardon me?
What she said is right.
I didn't hear.
Well, you'll hear about it in a few months, but it's a building that has 4 kitchens in it that people can rent by the hour. And then
Okay.
the front part will be a kind of a kitchen cafe that people can rent as a kitchen or rent it as a cafe where they can sell food from there.
So will it be open to the public?
Yeah, the
So
public,
where's the parking at for that?
That's
That's why he
he's
wants the
trying to
parking.
yeah, you're answering your own question.
Excellent.
solve. Yeah, I mean,
I thought it was for the apartments.
but that's in theory what it is because it's tied to the apartments right now, but in reality, it's
Yeah, it's
most
mixed use
likely to
between the 3
serve for
apartments.
that kitchen spaces.
Worth asking, what the tenants be able to use it.
So is it for the tenants or is it for the kitchen space?
It's for both. It's a mixed use. That's why,
Okay.
because the NPC is for the kitchen spaces building, but the other 2 are residential. So by making them all commercial, they all can share the same parking.
Okay, maybe I just didn't read it correctly, because I didn't.
What's the use directly south of this, of the edge of your property?
It's a duplex. You mean on the south side of the kitchen spaces building?
Yeah,
Yeah, it's a duplex.
so that's mid-block, there's not a street.
And that's also, is that also one of your properties too?
Yeah.
My inclination, I guess, is to continue this and to have conversations about, to see what we can do on the full range of properties around here. And so, I don't know if we need more than a council meeting, or, but I don't know.
Who should we refer to? I mean, you want staff and P and Z, or what are you thinking?
I mean, I think it can probably just be done with staff, right? I don't know that it needs to go back to P and Z.
Okay, so we refer to staff, come back, what do you think, in next meeting or 2 meetings from now? What do you think? Maybe we ought to ask staff.
Well, and I'm concerned, if I could, and we can discuss this more, but is parking, the appropriateness of the additional parking part of that question? Because that would be traffic and as well, to understand our parking situation.
Yeah, I mean, everyone else has to go through a traffic study, don't they, when they open up a business?
Yeah.
Okay. I didn't read it that we were giving additional parking to a commercial building. I thought it was for the housing. That's why I just didn't see it anywhere in there. I mean, just
So,
Perhaps continuing to the next meeting with council's understanding that that may be very
Yeah, that's okay.
ambitious, and
Yeah.
then we might have to continue it again.
continue as appropriate, or, yeah. if
All
you
right,
need
so let's try to get it resolved as quickly as possible and see
That's
what we
fine.
can do. And with our eye to continue, Mr. Councilman, till next meeting, and let's see if they can get it done. And then we'll get in touch with you if there's a hang-up somewhere along the way.
All right.
Okay?
Is this it right here?
7 yes.
So it's existing.
All right. Takes us to item 54. Item 54 is on a proposed Drake Urban Renewal Plan, receiving and filing the determination of the Des Moines Planning and Zoning Commission and adopting the Urban Renewal Plan, Council Communication Number 19-006. A is a recommendation of the Planning and Zoning Commission. B is the resolution of necessity for Drake Urban Renewal Plan. And C is the first consideration of the ordinance designating the area as a TIF district. The only comment I will make is this was some very extensive reading over the weekend, but some good history involved also. It's really a detailed plan. So, at any rate, let's open it up. Is there anybody here to speak to this plan? Anybody? Seeing none, let's...
I'm happy to move item 54, A, B, and C. And seeing none, do we need a couple more readings? Can we waive those? And I'll move to waive the second and third reading as well.
I agree with Josh. This is a great opportunity. We have a lot of synergy working down there right now. It's good to see that we're moving forward with rejuvenating that area. I can see a lot of positive things happening, so support it entirely. Josh and I have been working together in that Drake area for a year now. I love it. Keep it up.
Synergy.
Synergy, they
That's
teach you,
coming from our mayor.
7 yes.
55.
they teach you that at Mayor Pro Tem.
On the proposed connection fee ordinance for the Little 4-Mile Trunk Sewer Benefited District, Council Communication Number 19-001. A is the first consideration of the ordinance above. We'll open the hearing. Anybody here to speak to? Come on up. Give us your name and address, and give us your input, please.
Jeff Klunenberg, 2970 Northeast 56. Just have clarification questions, I guess. This cost is connect to the sewer. If we do that, are we voluntarily annexing to Des Moines when we connect to the sewer?
If they are adjacent, yes.
If they're adjacent to them.
If your backyard would be adjacent, I believe.
Right.
The ordinance provides that you would waive any objection to annexation. So it would still have to go through the normal process, but you would not be allowed to object to the annexation.
Okay. That's what I thought. The 3.5% interest rate applies to what? If I wait 10 years to connect, is that interest accruing and then it cost us that much higher then?
So that $4,000 and change that's in the ordinance does escalate by the 3.5%.
Okay. It's listed, it's 4,000 something per acre. If I don't have full acre, is that prorated?
There are some accommodations for smaller properties. I'm not exactly familiar with the formula on that, but we can get you that formula.
Okay, so you're thinking it probably is prorated.
I believe it's partially prorated, but I don't know how the formula breaks down. We'd have to talk.
Does anyone know in staff there? I know there's exceptions for exceptionally smaller parcels, but I think in your case, you would want to expect full acre, right?
It's not, it's like .82.
I'm thinking that might be charged the full acre, though.
That might be. I don't know that it gets down that small.
Do we know?
But I think this is detail that we're guessing at.
Yeah, I'd say I'd want to know for sure,
But
I can get back.
a little queasy about moving this one without...
Let me move on. If I sell my home in 5 years, will the buyer or me as the seller be forced to connect at that point?
Say that again.
If he sells his property in the next 5 years, would he
whenever,
be
yeah.
forced either upon sale or the new one to connect to it at that time?
No, it would still be the existing owner's choice.
Okay.
So the next owner would have that choice.
Okay. Finally, it appears out of these 427 acres involved, there's only about maybe 3 to 4 dozen existing houses. So it's being done for new development to open up those open areas, obviously. As these developments grow and seem to become part of Des Moines, if I become surrounded by Des Moines property, then will I be involuntarily annexed?
So that would take a vote.
That would take a vote of the communities. Understand that this project is also an opportunity for existing homes like yourself to connect on by choice. So
Right.
we oftentimes do have property owners that their septic tanks, or sewers fail. And so this is a benefit not only for new construction, but also for the existing.
At that point, right. That's all I have. Thank you.
All right, do you need answers to that, do you feel, before you would?
Answers to the prorated part, if I can?
Well, the whole concept of the connection in the fee
No, I think
there too.
I think I get it all, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I did.
You get it, okay, you're good. Next speaker.
I'm hoping you just answered my question. I'm Larry Zimmer, 2980 Northeast 56th. I'm his next-door neighbor. Having spent an obscene amount of money on repair and updating mine, what kind of repercussions am I going to have if I do not want to connect? Because as far as I know, I'm up to date within the last 3 years.
I don't know of any
It's had to do with
repercussions.
the depth of my laterals, which is 2 feet. Guess what happened 2 years ago when the frost went down 4 feet? It froze up. So all I'm asking is, if I do not connect, what kind of repercussions am I going to get into?
I'm not aware of any.
The idea of the fee is, the idea is if you choose to connect, here's what happens. But
Okay, so I can choose not to?
as long as you have
That's all I want to know?
functioning facility.
Thank you.
Thank you, Larry. All right, seeing no one else, council, any comments?
I would move item 55
And 55A.
and 55A. I'm sorry.
Hey, wait a second.
7 yes.
Item 56 on the Lower Oak and Highland Park Sewer Separation Phase 3 resolution approving the plan specifications, form of contract documents, engineer's estimate, and designating the lowest responsible bidder as J&K Contracting LLC. Jeremy Feldman, president, and Bill, I know you'll appreciate the number, $4,747,474.74. Council Communication Number 19-016. A is approving the contract and bond and permission to sublet. Let's go ahead and open it up and see if there's anyone here to speak to this item. All right, seeing none. Closed comment. Anybody?
Bill's got his cup,
I-
74 cents.
Oh, the 74 cents one. I would move item 56 and 56A.
And Mr. Mayor, you're right. I think we have set a new standard here. Not only did we not round off, not only we just round off the dimes, we have pennies in here now. $4.7 million, and you have to have 74 extra cents. Here's a cup, let's help them out.
You want that bid
Well,
by
but
74 cents.
you sort of liked the way the flow went with the numbers, didn't you?
I like it because it's 47, 47.
That's what I thought
Yeah.
too. I like the number,
You
47,
threw the roulette
I mean,
wheel.
you can
47,
remember that.
47,
Yeah.
47.
7 yes.
Start with
Yes.
4 million. All right, item 57 on the 4 Mile Community Center window replacement resolution approving the plan specifications, form of contract documents, engineer's estimate, and designating the lowest responsible bidder is JPG Company LLC, Jared Geis, president, $68,900. Council Communication Number 19-014. A is approving the contract and bond and permission to sublet. Item 57, let's go ahead and open it up. Is there anybody here to speak to this item? Window replacement at the 4 Mile Community Center. Seeing none,
I will move item 57 and 57A.
7 yes.
Item 58, on the Police Academy window replacements, resolution approving the plan specifications, form of contract documents, engineer's estimate, and designating the lowest responsible bidder as Mid-American Glazing Systems, Inc., Daniel D. Madden, President, $87,700. Council Communication Number 19-008. A is approving the contract and the bond. Let's go ahead and open up and see if anybody's here that would like to make comment on the windows at the Police Academy.
I see none, Mr. Mayor. I'll move 58 and 58A.
Seven yes.
Mr. Manager, are these window replacements damaged, or are these failing windows?
Aged and failing.
Aged, okay.
It's been there a while now.
59, on the Principal Park Cub Club re-roofing, resolution approving the plan specifications, form of contract documents, engineer's estimate, and designating the lowest responsible bidder as Rubber Roofing Systems, Inc., David A. Casey, President, $94,400. Council Communication Number 19-009. A is approving the contract and the bond. Let's go ahead and open it up, see if there's anybody here to comment on this. Is Mike Gardner here?
Seeing none, I'll move 59 and 59A.
Good company, Rubber Roofing System.
7 yes.
They do a good job.
Item 60, on the University Avenue improvements from 55th Street to 63rd Street, a resolution approving the plan specifications, form of contract documents, engineer's estimate, and designating the lowest responsible bidder as TK Concrete, Inc., Tony J. Vermeer, President, $765,408.30. Council Communication Number 19-018. A is approving the contract and bond and permission to sublet. Let's go ahead and open the hearing on this item. Anybody here to speak regarding the University Avenue improvements? Seeing none, council?
I'd move item 60. I just want to give a shout out to engineering. They did a great job with community meetings, an open house. People were allowed to give input, talk about it, express their concerns. I think they did a great job. A lot of times engineering gets pulled in the crosshairs, but this time I was really proud of it. It really worked great. And I need 30 cents, guys. You can help me out.
Bill, I appreciate the project. I'm not keen on the, on who's doing the work. And so I will be a no vote here, but.
I was going to ask, that's right.
I do appreciate the project and all the work that's being done over there.
And I'll use this opportunity to talk about the synergy on university. You know, this is hopefully something that is part of a larger change in the way university is going to be working in the next few years, and that will include connecting with our neighbors west, as well as thinking about how it goes to the east and our friends in the Drake neighborhood and Drake University as well. And so I look forward to seeing everything that's going to be happening along that corridor in the coming years. We've been putting a good chunk of work in, and I think we're going to start seeing results, and I look forward to that. And this is one piece of that.
It's going to be an exciting time to be on university. So I'm going to move 60 and 60A.
6 yes, 1 no.
All right, let's note that it's 6:03, and we end our hearings. It takes us back to item 44. Item 44 is from Milton Sudbrook of 3021 Dean Avenue to speak regarding having police escort for the Abate Toy Run in October.
Actually, my name is Scott Sengbush, and I've been designated to speak for SUDS. Scott Sengbush, I'm at 3614 47th Street, Des Moines.
Okay,
Member Coleman?
Yep.
Please,
How are you? Thank you.
all right. Receive and file, Mr. Coleman.
Yes. Is there one copy for?
All in favor, say aye.
Essentially, we might be short one, we're bikers.
I'll waive one. I'll
We'll
make sure
share.
that everybody gets
We'll
one.
share. So 1 and 1.
You take one,
Did somebody
Josh.
move it?
Josh and I'll share.
Yep. And we
There you guys go.
all said
Take
aye.
one of each.
We're neighbors.
Scott.
I live on 48th Place, right through the catwalk.
I'll tell you what, let's give one.
That's right through.
You're down on the bend there at the bottom.
Yeah. We're about a block from each other.
Okay, Scott?
Thank you, Mayor, council members, thank you for your attention. For those of you who don't know, ABATE is Iowa State Motorcycle Rights Organization, a brotherhood aimed toward education. For the past 35 years, ABATE of Iowa District 4 has hosted an annual toy run parade. This is an event that many look forward to participating in, and many more have come to depend on in Polk, Warren, and Dallas counties. Those who depend on our parade are various agencies that provide shelter and services to women, children, and families under a variety of circumstances. These agencies have budgets they must operate under, and extras like toys, gifts, and clothing for the children for Christmas has to fall to donations by the public. The ABATE of Iowa District 4 has stepped up for 35 years to help provide for these children and families. Many aspects of the Toy Run Parade have changed over the years, but the one thing that remains constant is our desire to continue in the role of helping make Christmas happier for the underprivileged children within our district. We will be hosting our 36th annual Toy Run Parade October 13th, 2019, once again starting from the State Capitol Complex parking lot 15 each year as we plan a parade of motorcyclists who ride and transport donated toys to a pre-planned ending destination. For that parade, we must plan a route, and each year we have been assisted by the City of Des Moines Police Traffic Control Unit in confirming streets we want to use will not be under construction, and that off-duty officers provide escort and traffic control for the parade. We pay a minimum of 2 hours of wages for each officer at a rate of 1.5 times their normal hourly wage. While we are deeply grateful for the safety they provide our riders, that are traveling for the costs associated with this aspect of our annual event can negatively impact us depending on our circumstances in a given year. It can also dictate where we ride and the distance. If sponsorship of the event falls short of the expenses, or if there is a bad weather year that impacts participation, which results in less merchandise sales that help to offset expenses, we can actually lose money in our attempt to aid those less fortunate. So we are asking if it would be possible for the City of Des Moines to possibly consider some sort of credit beyond the standard street use permit cost, or even look to incorporate into the city budget an allowance of some sort to decrease or completely offset the expense ABATE of Iowa District 4 pays for the police services for this event. In earlier years, we saw a credit in the amount of $1,000 applied against the cost of police services, but that ceased in 2012. It was then replaced with a credit equal to the cost of the street use permit, now $250. When considering our request, please keep in mind this information, of which I have handed you. We partner with 5 agencies in the Tri-County area in our district, Polk, Warren, and Dallas. Gift cards, bicycles, batteries, and 60 to 70 boxes of toys, games, puzzles, books, clothing, etc., valued at approximately $13,000 to $15,000, are divided and dispersed to these agencies each year through the generosity of our parade event participants. Past year's parade expenses: Kaibos, $90 to $100 as required to be provided at the Capitol Complex each year for parade starting point. Street use permit application fees, $200 to $250 per year. Escort and traffic control by local police, both Des Moines and other adjoining cities, have ranged from $900 to $2,200 per year, depending on the route taken for the parades and personnel needed to provide the escorts and traffic controls. This has long been, excuse me, this has long been a labor of love. It always will be. We are only inviting you to be a part of this labor. Any questions that I might be able to answer?
Scott, thanks for coming down. Anybody have any questions for Scott? I think that we probably want to receive and file your comments, and Mr. Manager,
I'll
we
move
might
to
want
receive and
refer
file.
it to you to take a look not only at this, but some of the others, and let's talk about what we do and how we do it, and what impacts there might be moving forward. And certainly, we always salute everybody that's doing good things for our city and our citizens, so.
Okay. Well, folks, again, thank you for your attention.
Thank you.
Thank you. Ride safely. Anybody have want to say that's their motion?
I'll move as the mayor outlined.
7 yes.
All right, item 45 is an authorization to proceed with acquisition of necessary property interests for the Grays Lake Park Expansion Project, Council Communication Number 19-007. Let's go ahead and open it up.
I'll move item 45.
Seeing no one, the item's been moved. Mr. Coleman?
Sorry.
7 yes.
All right, let's move to 46. These are items regarding proposed agreement for transcription services, Council Communication Number 19-004. A, civilian reduction in force of the Des Moines Police Department, and B, a 3-year contract with 3 successive 1-year renewal options with Net Transcripts, Inc., Susan Summer, COO, to provide transcription services of police audio records. There were 5 proposals received. Anybody have any comments on this one? Chief?
I'll move 46A and B.
Seven yes.
Item 47, agreement for sharing of gaming revenue with Polk County and Prairie Meadows, Council Communication Number 19-025. Anybody to talk to this item?
The mayor and I were at their 30th celebration. Oh, Scott was there too. Actually, there's a good story there.
I don't know.
If we had a shorter meeting, I'd tell you, but
Scott's still trying to figure out what happened.
they had a guest that was on America's Got Talent. The, what were their names, Scott?
Clairvoyance.
The Clairvoyants. In fact, they're on this week for their Champions reunion thing. And they brought Scott on stage and read his mind.
He was thinking,
was
oh my
very-
gosh, I can't believe Coleman and the mayor are here.
Yeah, well, it'll make for an interesting personnel review this year, now that we know what he's really thinking. The Prairie Meadows Agreement has been an amazing benefit to the city. We give up a lot. You know, I think the mayor and I were the only ones around when we had serious interest from people from 63rd and Highway 5 to property that we talked about today on the northeast side of Des Moines with interest of a casino. And we gave up that to essentially go into a partnership with Polk County. They continue to respect that. Scott did an outstanding job representing our interest this year in that negotiation, but
Well, and as you recall, even an interest in putting one on the river in downtown.
yes.
Yeah, that was.
Yes. Nobody liked that except me. So, Scott, thank you very much for representing us. I'll move the agreement. This creates an amazing revenue stream for us, putting it into streets and roads and bridges. Fantastic agreement.
Good work.
Good job.
Nice job.
Scott, Mayor, thank you.
Appreciate the time.
7 yes.
All right, everybody, unless there's something else that somebody wants to bring up, we're moving forward in the new year. And, Mr. Manager, did you,
You can adjourn, I was just going to explain some.
we can adjourn. All right, some of us are going to go home, and Scott's going to stay here. So,
Is that what he said?
thank you all for attending.
Yep. Council,
Until
the
next time,
handouts.
We're adjourned.
Thank you. Sorry. The handouts are the same as the public will receive tomorrow at the finance and budget
That looks
discussion.
good. Who did that?
Between the budget and